There we go. Welcome everyone to the meeting of the Baltimore. I do that sometimes. Baltimore County Delegation on this the 14th of September. It's almost approximately Pi Day. Okay, and so on we go. We are going to do our voting section of this first. I know that there are several members that will need to get out of here shortly after 9 o'clock. So I want to make sure we get that business taken care of. But if depending on how fast we dispense with that, we'll have ample time for a presentation from the folks from our county library. So I'm going, the first bill in consideration, and the only bill today, will be House Bill 978. Love them when they're in numerical order like that. Not quite, but close. Speed monitoring systems, Interstate 695, Interstate 83. The subcommittee has met again, and I turn to the subcommittee chair, Chair Cardin, for a report and perhaps a motion on an amendment.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Just briefly, this is a bill that would allow the county or in conjunction with the state highway to be able to place speed cameras on 695 and I believe additionally the parts of 83 that are in the county. There was a number of amendments that were favorably voted on. However, what we did is we Delegate Stein, the sponsor, consolidated for all intents and purposes almost all the amendments into one single amendment. Then we voted favorably on that amendment, favorably on the bill as amended. Let me just quickly go over the amendments. I will do the best I can without my notes in front of me, and then Charity will help chime in if I get something wrong.
You can sweep up a little bit if she needs to, yes.
The first thing it does is it requires that no speed camera can be within 5 miles of another speed camera. Number two, there's already actually, this isn't incorporated in the amendment, but it was something that we discussed and we wanted to make sure it was true, is that there has to be conspicuous signage that is essentially adjacent or very close to the speed camera, noting that there is speed camera. And it's already in state law that it requires that. And it has to be, by the way, on or around the most closely preceding speed limit sign. And it has to be conspicuous, which is the wording in the code already. That's number two. Number three is that there has to be at least 30 days of warning period before the program is implemented. And number four is that there is a part in the uncodified section that requiring a report on what's going on is it to the General Assembly and to the delegation? Or is it to the?
It's to the delegations.
To the delegation in the General Assembly, to the delegation of the General Assembly. And those are the amendments. I believe those are all the amendments that were concluded. And that, by the way, the amendments I believe were unanimous. The bill was not, but the amendments were unanimous in the subcommittee.
Okay, Mr. Chair, would you like to make a motion on those amendments?
Move the amendment.
Okay, well, you're not the chair, but we'll take it.
That's fine.
Do I have a second?
I'll second as the chair.
Thank you. That'll do just fine. So we have this set of amendments available for voting for approval. And I want to know if there's any further discussion on those amendments.
Mr. Chair, this is Delegate Ross. I just had a quick question.
Sure.
If I may.
Thank you. Yes, Delegate Ross.
Yeah, thank you. When I looked over it, and again, I'm just, obviously coming in, so I just saw this yesterday. For the notification, the 30-day notification, does it specify a mode or method of notification? Does it have, and I'm assuming that's to the public. Is that does it need to be posted somewhere? Or does the public need to be notified in some particular way?
Chair Cardin.
So let me, so I think maybe I wasn't clear. So I thank you very much for allowing me to clarify. So we issue tickets, they issue a ticket, let's say it's a $40 ticket. By the way, these are $40 tickets and we have to come back to the legislature to increase the amounts. And I hope that never happens, but that's a whole nother issue of mine. Okay, so before they can begin to issue tickets, they have to have a 30-day warning period where people get warnings that they have violated the law. And so those would be mailed or delivered in the same way that the actual violation notice with the required payment would have been delivered. So that's the 30-day notice. There's other regulations about notice that there's going to be speed cameras put up. And that has to do with the conspicuous signage that there are speed cameras. And I would imagine that there's certain regulations about the advance notice of putting up speed cameras, but we can tell our constituents pretty easily once the program gets underway. It's going to take them a while to get it. There was some discussion, by the way, about when the changing of the speed cameras to locations. And as we know, there's going to be, it's going to be at least 5 years, most likely, before any like based on what's happened in Baltimore City on 83, it's going to be at least 5 years before any of the original speed cameras, or from today's date, before any of those speed cameras would be changed location. So I didn't think that was necessarily something that it could have been dealt with, but it didn't have to be dealt with now.
Thank you. Delegate Ross, does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you, Chair.
Perfect. Are there any other questions or discussion on the amendment? Yes, Delegate Shalega.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I had offered a reporting amendment, and I think you guys took part of it or modified it. Delegate Cardin, what can you tell me about that?
It's in there. It is in, if you look at the last part of the bill at the very end, there's a reporting requirement to the delegation of the General Assembly.
I think, Delegate Shalega, you're probably asking about the period of time for the reporting. I think your amendment had it in perpetuity, and I believe the amendment calls for it for 3 years. Charity, will you confirm that?
That's correct. 3 years.
I think if I understood your question.
Right, so let's put it on the calendar, Delegate Shalega, in 3 years. Maybe we can extend the sunset.
Or maybe we'll love what we see in the reports. That's possible too. So
I don't know. There's trust but verify. So I think this is the verify, and I will say I don't think it's a good idea to only make it a 3-year. We should, if we're giving away our authority over speed cameras, we should make sure that revenue is actually going to the places they told us. So thank you.
Thank you. Delegate Guyton, I see your hand up. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, thanks for the hard work on this. I know that subcommittee for many years has been very active in this area. I would like to remind the delegation that the ENT committee, and particularly the motor vehicle subcommittee of the ENT committee, works on this type of legislation every single day and has come up with actually a lot of these guidelines themselves to put in legislation that would already apply to us. And bills that are amended in this way haven't been looked upon favorably by that committee, as you all know from last year's experience. But so I will stick with the original bill myself. However, I do have a question about the amendment. Were any of these amendments suggested by the county, or were they all from members of the subcommittee or others?
They were they were offered by members of the subcommittee or other members of the committee, like Delegate Shalega. They were, just so you understand, we checked with the county on all of them to make sure they were both doable and acceptable, and with State Highway. And Delegate Stein helped make sure that happened. And then we also went to ENT, and the chair of the delegation can talk a little bit more about that, but we went to the chair of ENT to make sure that none of this was going to be dispositive to the passage of the bill. And
okay, great. Thanks for doing that homework.
Yeah. Well, that based on your unfortunate experiences from last year, we wanted to make sure that if we're going to do this, we're going to try and do it right from the beginning. So.
Thank you. Delegate Grammer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I wanted to ask why we can't deal with the topic of when the cameras move to give notifications about that. The beltway is pretty big, and wouldn't that be something we would want to take up here?
Yeah, it's not in the amendment, but you can say that you can comment on the amendment that you would like your support or lack of support for the amendment because of that.
I thought that was part of the discussion and something that we could wrap in here.
So there was a question in subcommittee as to whether the 30-day notice would apply every time a camera was changed or moved. And to be perfectly frank, that was something that the state highway didn't have an appetite for, and said maybe that's not something, and that's not something that's been done in other legislation per the conversation we just had with Delegate Guyton. It was not included in Delegate Stein's omnibus amendment, and it's something that certainly we can bring up in any time. Just to give you context, Baltimore City put in the speed cameras in 2016, maybe, and they are just moving them now. So it may have been after that. They're just moving them now from the first time they installed them. So there is, given them, there's at least, given that experience, it costs a lot of money to put a camera up and then move it. So it's not going to be something that's going to happen every few months.
Okay.
There was discussion. The subcommittee decided that this wasn't the right time to do this because it could down the bill. So.
And I do have one more question. So I've seen speed cameras that have impacted traffic coming out of my district. There's a bit of a rubbernecking factor, and if the camera's not placed really well, you'll get a speed limit drop of everyone 30 miles per hour or more. How does the bill speak to those scenarios when you frankly just cause a bottleneck that lasts miles?
It doesn't. And neither does the amendment. I think we're still in the amendment.
So what do we do in those cases?
Well, this isn't on the amendment, but Mr. Chair, you want me to respond?
Yes, please, Delegate Cardin.
Okay. It doesn't speak to it, and I guess some people would say that's the intent of speed cameras, is to slow people down.
I get that, but I think it's quite an unexpected outcome if it's really just killing traffic completely and not mediating that 10, 15 miles an hour that we want people to slow down. Is it something we'd be willing to take up here?
I'm ready. I'm ready to move once. I think we're on the amendment. So that's a discussion. You're on mute. That's a discussion post amendment.
Okay.
I'll revisit the discussion post amendment.
Thank you, sir. Delegate Long.
Yes, thank you. I briefly heard on the floor that I should have wrote the bill down, that the state highway MDOT is requesting that they have authority to change fines. This bill says $40 for a red light, for a speed camera. I'm concerned that with this legislation that's getting ready to pass, I think it was on first or second read. I think it's second reader. In this bill, can we enshrine or make sure that it'll only be $40 and there won't be no late payments or penalties? Because, like I said, there was a bill that I remember hearing on the floor saying, given MDOT or whoever, the authority to change fines, and I was a little concerned about that when I heard that. I should have wrote it down, but I was busy, as everybody is.
That's a great question for
Garrity, I think
Ms.
you'll
Scott.
tell us. I think you could tell us that that's in law right now, that $40 is the maximum fine. So it would require an actual piece of legislation to change that. Oh,
Right.
Delegate Ruth, sort of our resident expert. I'm gonna bring you the floor to answer that one.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was trying to look it up even as we were speaking, and there is a bill that was special ordered that came through my committee, and I believe yeah, it would change the speed cameras, and I believe it's all speed cameras, and maybe Delegate Guyton might be able to answer this better, but it, you know, creates tiers for the fines. So the
That's
people.
not the case. That's not the case right now. Right now.
That is not the case right now, but
Thank you.
Delegate Long is correct. There is a bill on the floor that does something.
So
Well,
but the question was, would this be included in that if, even though we specify that, or can we put in legislation or an amendment that says that there would have to be separate legislation in order to impact this?
I think we'll take that as if somebody wants to suggest that as an amendment after we're done with this one, we'll take it up as a separate amendment. I will have comment on that if it comes forward.
Again, my concern, I'm sorry, Mr. My concern is when I read that, I'm thinking, you know, I think it would circumvent what we're trying to do. That's my personal, okay. And we really need to get a
Delegate Long,
that
you're saying that's missing from the amendment, in your opinion, and that's fine. That will affect how you vote on the amendment. If after this is done, you would like to suggest an amendment to that effect, we can do that. I will have comment on that if you decide to go forward with that. But let's stick on the amendment here.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome, Delegate Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll hold my comments for the bill. I apologize. I thought we were
We're on the amendment still.
Yeah, I'll hold my comments. Thank you.
All right. I don't see any other hands up, and so we're going to move, and we're obviously going to do a roll call vote here on the amendment as given by the subcommittee chair, Delegate Cardin, Chair Cardin. The motion is favorable. I'll go to the vice chair first, Delegate Pasteur.
Yes, and let me just point out, Mr. Chair, that we do have 18 people present, 2 excused.
Thank you. You serve a dual function these days. I'm well aware of that. Delegate Allen on the amendment.
Yes.
Delegate Mandari.
Yes.
Delegate Cardin.
Yes.
Delegate Forbes.
Yes.
Delegate Grammer.
Yes.
Delegate Guyton.
No.
Delegate Delegate Jones or Speaker Jones is excused. Delegate Long.
Speaker Jones is here.
She's here. Okay.
That's right. Go to the next person because I don't know what you're talking.
Okay, great.
I just got in.
He momentarily abstains. We're on amendment anyway. We'll be on the bill in a second. Delegate Long.
No, and for the reasons that we just discussed.
Okay, thank you. Delegate Mangione.
Yes.
Okay, Delegate McCaskill.
Yes.
Delegate Metzger. Is he present?
Yeah, he's there. Yeah, he's present.
We'll hold for a second.
Delegate Mangione, will you repeat your vote, please?
His vote was yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
Metzger, are you able to get yourself up? Put your thumbs down. Okay, thank you. I saw that. Delegate Naraki.
Yes.
Delegate Phillips.
Yes.
Delegate Ross.
Yes.
Delegate Ruth.
Yes.
Delegate Stein is excused. Delegate Shalega.
Yes.
And Delegate White Holland.
Yes.
All right. I can turn it over to you.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Who is that? Who yelled in yes?
Metzger.
Okay, Metzger. You're a yes. All right, thank you. That changes things a little bit. I thought I saw you going thumbs down like that on the screen there. All right. We have a count. Delegate Pasteur, you want to tell us what the count
Yes,
is?
there are 15 yeses. And let me change Delegate Metzger. I thought he was a no too.
I did too.
And so we have 2 nays and the speaker didn't vote. So we have, 15 yeses.
So we all attached, so that approves the amendment.
Yes.
Now, Delegate Cardin on the bill as amended. Well, wait a minute. I should say, are there any other amendments to the bill at this time? Delegate Metzger, you have a hand up, I assume, as a vote and not a voice?
Right.
Okay, thank you, Delegate Grammer.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I think I'd like to propose an amendment in principle that the State Highway Administration will adopt a process for community feedback that allows people to report speed camera positions that are deleterious to the flow of traffic. And this is my bigger issue. Well, one of my bigger issues here. Speed cameras are supposed to keep people under the speed limit. They're not supposed to destroy the flow of traffic. And we've had situations going north on the Beltway in some places where for 5 miles, you'll have cars driving for 5 to 10 miles an hour. So if the State Highway Administration can adopt a process for at least people giving feedback to say, look, it's taking me an extra 45 minutes in the morning to get to traffic until I pass this darn speed camera, I think that'd be very positive. So I'd make the motion.
Yeah, there's a motion for, I gather a motion for an amendment in principle that will require for public feedback on deleterious locations, if I'm quoting it correctly.
Second.
I have a second on that amendment. All right. Is there any further discussion on the amendment? Delegate Long, I see your hand up, but I have a feeling you have an amendment and not a comment on this particular amendment. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So let's do a roll call on this vote conceptually on the amendment to require state highways to have public feedback on deleterious locations, and we can put that amendment together if we need to. The chair will vote first, and I vote no to that amendment. And now I'll call on the vice chair, Delegate Pasteur. Okay, we'll hold for her.
Oh, yeah, I'm processing that.
Okay.
Okay, that's a little thrown on us. I need to think about that.
Okay.
I'm still thinking, why don't you carry on while I'm thinking? Because I
Okay.
think it's an important amendment.
We'll come to you alphabetically then.
I think it's an important amendment, and I don't.
Yeah, I since you're commenting, I will comment that if we put this amendment on there, it's very likely that the bill will not survive in ENT. Delegate Allen on the amendment.
I'm a no, Mr. Chair, and if I may, for the reason you just stated, that I don't think this will make it past ENT, and also for the reason after the speed cameras were added in Baltimore City on I-83, traffic in fact improved because traffic caused by accidents that are caused by excessive speeding are worse than any traffic caused by people slowing down and actually going the speed limit. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that comment. I appreciate discussion before we vote on it. Okay.
I'm on Delegate Bendari.
Then I will vote against the amendment.
Okay, the vice chair votes against. Delegate Bendari.
Thank you. I will vote no. I will second what my district mate said.
Very good. Delegate Cardin.
I will vote no, and I would just explain that while I think it's a laudable goal, I think we can probably accomplish that just through our legislative talk to the state highway and let them know what we think, and maybe that could have some impact.
Thank you. Delegate Forbes.
No.
Delegate Grammer.
Yes.
Delegate Guyton.
No.
Delegate Speaker Jones, are you up to speed, or are you still catching up a little bit here?
Well, if I didn't do
We're still on amendments at this point, so we'll come back to you.
No.
Delegate Long.
Yes.
Delegate Mangione.
Yes.
Delegate McCaskill.
No.
Delegate Metzger.
Yes.
Delegate Naraki.
Yes.
Delegate Pastor has already voted. Delegate Phillips.
No.
Delegate Ross.
No.
Delegate Ruth.
No.
Delegate Stein is excused. Delegate Shalega.
Yes.
And Delegate White Holland.
No.
All right, there. Two hats. Put on your if the vice chair put on another hat and tell us what the vote count is here.
Okay, hold it, 3. We have 10. 1, 2, 3.
They were freaking out because they were like, we don't have the amendment.
Chair.
I have a
Mr.
count.
Chair,
I have a count. You can verify.
Did
if you'd
you
like.
vote or not vote?
I did vote. I voted against the amendment.
Okay, you voted against. Okay, then it is 13-4-6 again.
Okay, and 4 means in this case for the unfavorable on this amendment, or 13 against this amendment, I should say. 6 for the amendment. The amendment was moved positively. We had 6 positive votes on that favorable, and that's
All
not
right,
enough to carry the day.
Something is going on here.
I know somebody's got. Please check your microphones. You might be not muted at this point. Okay, so that amendment does not go forward. Delegate Long.
Thank you. As we discussed earlier, we have a bill that's going through the process right now that will give MDOT or the state authority to impose tier penalties for speed cameras. This wasn't considered when we started talking about this bill. I was under the impression there would be $40, would not be no late payments or no charges if it wasn't paid within a year or whatever, because things drop through the cracks. I have a woman right now that's got over $35,000 worth of tolls because there was a mistake made. And I want to make sure that if this bill does pass, that, somebody gets a red light camera, we want to make sure that they're not going to get hammered with not only the fine, but late payments and who knows.
Long, can you offer an amendment, please?
Yeah, that's one. Okay, that amendment would address
Spirit,
that.
your amendment, state it clearly.
Okay, my amendment would be that we enshrine that the fine would only be $40.
Regardless of other state actions.
Correct. And no late payments and no processing fees.
Fine stays at 40, no late payments, no processing fees as part of our cameras program. Delegate Ruth.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I oppose this amendment. First of all, as with the previous amendment, I'm pretty sure that this will kill it in ENT. It will not go forward in ENT. Also, one of the consistent problems that we hear from constituents is how traffic is speeding and really just being much more aggressive than it ever used to be. And so the tiered fines are to really address those people who are abusing the system. I mean, and just going, really fast. And the lowest fine in that bill, if that bill were to pass, would be $40 for between 12 and 15 over, but it goes up to 40 miles over the speed limit, and 40 miles over the speed limit is a lot, and we don't want people going that fast, and it is a risk to people's lives.
Thank you, Delegate.
No,
and just excuse me,
sorry.
Delegate Long, hold on. I will just say that let's be clear that law right now has it at $40 with no fines and no late fees. This would be predictive, a predictive amendment in here that because the law that's in is not passed yet. Delegate Cardin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Am I on?
Yes, you are.
Okay. I happen to think that this is a good idea because I think that Delegate Long happens to actually be right on this. That when we were first pursuing this, there was an expectation, and in the subcommittee we discussed it, that there was that it would be required to be legislation in order to increase the fines, and that would not be the case. I would maybe suggest that if there's going to be an amendment, if the amendment is introduced, the amendment would be like to a 5-year. There would be a 5-year hold that this law would be exempted, or this policy would be exempted from any state changes for 5 years, and then we could return again after we have the first sort of cycle of these cameras and determine whether we want to, when they start to move the cameras, whether we want to go into tier. And so I would offer an amendment to the amendment to say that it should be a 5-year exemption from any state action.
Okay, but there's already an amendment offered, so we're not going to alter it at this point. But thank you. That could be another amendment if we want to. I want to point out that there are some members of our delegation that are going to have to depart if they're honoring other commitments in about 10 minutes or so. And there are several of the people that are up to speak right now. Delegate Mangione.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And feel free to stop if this is not in regards to the amendment, but I think it is, and maybe just in toward the bill. I'm just curious because I'm trying to get to yes votes on some of these things. I do get some of the feedback, but I'm also curious why $40 to the chairman of the subcommittee. $40 to me doesn't seem like there's any teeth at all. So I'm just curious as to why, if this bill is such a public safety issue, which to my third reader, I guess we could call it discussion, I've reached out to all the different law enforcement agencies and none of them support this. I'm just wondering if this bill is so important for public safety, why, number one, are they, or is it only $40 for the fine?
Well, so, I mean, I think maybe Delegate Guyton might be a more expert on speed cameras than I am on the statistics and everything. But I'll say that I think that $40 does in fact change behavior. And the idea of the tier is that if you're going 80 miles or 40 miles over the speed limit, if you're going in a 40-mile-an-hour speed, you're going 80 miles an hour, that you should get a higher fine because, from a public policy perspective, because you're trying to stop that behavior. That would be the intent. But if you're only going 10 miles over and you're trying to curb people and slow them down to the speed limit, best way to do that is just to, or has been shown, demonstrated to be a small fine does change behavior. So,
Thanks.
Yeah,
I'll get to Rocky.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would support this amendment, and the reason that I would support it is because right now in Baltimore County, we've had a lot of discussion in subcommittee about this. There are about 80,000 vehicles in Baltimore County that have a flag on their registration because of a speed camera ticket. I think that there are a lot of folks that for various reasons have difficulty paying these fines. And I think that if we're, this sort of progressive fine structure could make it more difficult for some of these folks that are already having challenges paying these fines. And I do believe, I do support the subcommittee chair in that I do think $40 is a deterrent for many individuals.
Thank you. I'm going to give Delegate Long another bite at the apple here.
Question. Let's just say, for instance, someone's caught speeding on a speed camera going 40 miles an hour. Would law enforcement be able to charge them with reckless driving at that point if they're caught? And it's,
So I don't really feel this is on the amendment, Delegate Long, and we're trying to be a little focused here. That's an interesting
I am
question.
focused.
I know, but we're
Go ahead.
focusing on whether we want to enshrine the fine levels in law. I guess that's relevant if they could be assessed a greater fine by law enforcement if they pulled them over.
But the answer is yes, they could, but that a police officer would have to be there in order to do that.
Correct. All right.
Chair, I move the previous question.
Delegate Allen has moved the previous question. Do I have a second on the previous question?
Second.
I have a second. Let's see if we can, let's see how many no's we get to this. All in favor of the previous question, raise your hands, please. Or put your little hand up. And Ryan, you've got yours up, by the way. Okay. How many no's do I have to the previous question, please? You can speak. Delegate Shalega. Delegate Mangione.
No.
Delegate Long. I got 3 no's.
No, sorry,
Grammer's
Chair.
a no.
No.
I got you, Grammer, 4, 5.
No, Mr. Chair.
Ryan says no, so 6 no's. Means the rest are yeses. The previous question carries. We're going to move to a roll call vote on this amendment. Chair is going to vote first and vote against the amendment. Delegate Pastor, are you ready to vote?
Speaking to mute.
We'll come to her alphabetically then.
No, I said no. I'm sorry. I was muted.
Thank you. We missed you. Delegate Allen.
No.
Delegate Bendari.
No.
Delegate Cardin.
Yes.
Delegate Forbes.
No.
Delegate Grammer. Delegate Grammer.
Yes.
Delegate Guyton.
No.
Delegate Speaker Jones.
No.
Okay, there we go. Delegate Long.
Yes.
Delegate Mangione.
Yes.
Delegate McCaskill.
No.
Delegate Metzger.
Yes.
Delegate Naraki.
Yes.
Delegate Phillips.
No.
Delegate Ross.
No.
Delegate Ruth.
No.
Delegate Stein is excused. Delegate Shalega.
Yes, and I have my hand up. So I'd just like to ask, I was trying to ask a question.
Right, but
If
the previous
we
question
do-
was moved, so we moved
if-
on.
Okay, well, I'm assuming then my statement will be, if we do not pass this amendment, the fines are going to be on a graded scale as the bill that's on the House floor right now, which will exacerbate the flags. And then we'll be back here fixing it. And I did welcome you to join the I Told You So caucus. So I'm a yes.
Thank you. Delegate Long, your chuckle is on. You might want to shut your
Oh,
mic down.
sorry.
Yeah, just so you know. And Delegate White Holland, your vote, please.
No.
Okay. So there are only 7 votes in the affirmative, and that is not a majority. So we are not bringing this amendment forward.
Point of
Are there
order,
any other amendments to the bill?
point of information.
Yeah, we're on the bill now. So sure, Delegate Phillips. We're on the bill as amended, which is the original amendment and not the other 2. Yes, sir.
I understand it, and I don't have the original amendment, but I believe this language is still consistent. And the language is, and am curious to those on ENT, the language that was used is a civil penalty under this subsection, and it's a subsection, I believe that we set out a subsection, may not exceed $40. So I'm curious within ENT, if they will be able to, any camera bill, even if it's written in this way, which I believe ENT agreed to, the chair agreed to, if the proposed legislation would override this particular legislation.
We could go to our resident expert on that. Charity, can you comment on that?
I'm trying to get confirmation, but the camera program that we're talking about is in a separate section of the code. And I found the bill that Delegate Long is referring to, and that is drafted to the other speed camera programs, the school zone and all the others. This one is created in a separate section of the code, so I don't think that the tiered system, even if it passed, would apply. But again, I'd rather get confirmation from the transportation experts.
Thank you, Charity. And that was my point, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Delegate Phillips. I appreciate it. Did you have anything else? I felt like I cut you off a little there.
I'm fine.
Okay. I saw Delegate Ruth's hand up, but it's back down. So I'm assuming that whatever she wanted to say was either dealt with or she's willing to sit. If you do, please raise your hand again. Delegate Cardin.
I just wanted to say that had I known that information, Charity, thank you for that. I probably would have voted against the amendment.
All right.
That's okay. Thank you.
Good to know. Okay, so we're on the bill, and I come back to the chair of the subcommittee. A motion on the bill with the amendment.
Yes, the motion is favorable. It was not unanimous, but it was a majority rule in the subcommittee, and I would move favorable on the bill.
Do I have a second?
Mr. Chair.
Thank you. All right. Is there any further discussion on the bill? Okay, seeing none, we'll do a roll call here. I'm going to go to the vice chair first. On the bill, the motion is favorable. Delegate Pastor. Chair.
Yes.
Yes. Delegate Allen.
Yes.
Delegate Bendari.
Yes.
Delegate Cardin.
Yes.
Delegate Forbes.
Yes.
Delegate Grammer.
No.
Delegate Guyton.
Yes.
Delegate Speaker Jones.
Yes.
Delegate Long.
No.
Delegate Mangione.
No.
Delegate McCaskill.
Yes.
Delegate Metzger. Delegate Metzger.
Yes.
Okay. Delegate Naraki.
No.
Delegate Phillips. Delegate Phillips. I see a hand. I see you pointing up.
Yes,
Okay,
I didn't
we're gonna
realize
take
I was
that as a
muted.
yes, and you can correct. Okay. Delegate Ross.
Yes.
Delegate Ruth.
Yes.
Delegate Stein is excused. Delegate Shalega.
No.
And Delegate White Holland.
Yes.
Okay, this requires a constitutional majority for the favorable. I'm going to go to the vice chair and ask her what the count is on this.
13. Did you vote?
I did not.
Okay. And we have 13 yes. And we have 5 no.
Okay, so that is majority. We will now send this bill to the Environment and Transportation Committee with the amendment as proposed at the beginning of the meeting. We will also add an amendment. Everybody can just kind of nod to change this bill to a county delegation bill rather than an individual bill. Yeah, everybody's nodding. They make us do a vote sheet on that. So we click it off. If anybody objects to having the Baltimore County put on, you should let me know and we'll make sure that we'll put you down as a no for that. With that said, we are now finished with the voting business and we're going to move to our guest today. Our guest is the CEO of Baltimore County Public Libraries, Sonia Alcantara Antoine. And
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I've got to be excused. I've got to get to a caucus.
I understand that we ran a little long, and that's why we did it first. It's important to hear from the libraries, but it was more important for us to dispense with that piece of business. Delegate Schlage, I see a hand up. If you'd like to, if you have a
Same
word.
thing. I've asked to have an excused absence for the Republicans that are
We
leaving.
understand. That was explained to us yesterday by Delegate Naraki. And
Thank you.
That's why
Thank
we
you,
went a
Mr.
little
Chair.
early and tried to dispense with this business while you were all here in good faith. Ms. Alcantara, I think it's Doctor. I think so too. Dr. Alcantara Antoine, you will be speaking mostly to Democrats here, but we're happy to have you and we're happy to stay and listen to you do a presentation, maybe ask you a few questions. I thank you for waiting for us to dispense with that piece of business. You have the floor, ma'am.
Thank you. My pleasure. And good morning to everyone. Good morning, Mr. Chair and distinguished members of the delegation. I am not a doctor, but thank you for conferring a doctorate degree upon me. I appreciate that.
I have that power, it turns out. I don't have one either, and sometimes I pretend like no, it's not true. Okay, so off we go.
So as you know, I'm Sonia Alcantara Antoine. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Baltimore County Public Library. I appreciate the opportunity just to share all the things that we've got going on at BCPL. We've got lots of irons in the fire, and I really enjoy keeping you guys in the loop in terms of all the things that's happening at the library, because everything that we do ultimately impacts your constituents. And I'd like to share my screen if possible. Somebody needs to turn it on. Send the request.
It'll happen in just a
Should
second.
be good now. I just accepted it.
Perfect. Thank you. While I'm loading up my slides, I hope you can see that.
You're on. It's
Oh,
showing.
perfect. Perfect. My thanks to all of you for all of your steadfast support for Baltimore County Public Library. We would not be a great institution without all of the support of all of you. And so I'm just really appreciative of that, and really appreciative to Speaker Jones, who I know is on the call, who's really been generous in her support for a new Randallstown Library. All right, so we've got lots of things to share. So as you know, people associate books with libraries. Yes, we have books, but we're really more than just books. We're about transformation. We serve everybody from all walks of life at all stages of life. And we are about transforming the lives of individuals that walk through our doors, of their families, of the whole community, understanding that that can have a ripple effect on generations to come. Every great community has a well-resourced, great public library system. The two are not mutually exclusive, and we're really proud of the work that we do at Baltimore County Public Library. Just an update on our social worker in the library program. We had to hit the pause button on this program for a while and do some restructuring. I'm happy to report that we have a new social worker who is working on the west side. Her name is Asma, and she is wonderful. She is she's located at the Woodlawn and Randallstown libraries, and her schedule is on our website. And we've also just hired our east side social worker. She just started, she's in orientation, but once she's out in the field, she will be concentrated at the Essex and North Point libraries. Really excited to bring back our social workers because we see the impact that that has on our community. We're also really excited about our Entrepreneur Academy program, where we teach people the nuts and bolts of being entrepreneurs and starting their own small business. This program started right before the pandemic. Since that time, we have held 10 cohorts and we have had 531 graduates. These are Baltimore County residents who are starting their own businesses, and we're seeing so many wonderful success stories from our Entrepreneur Academy graduates. We are also really excited because we are going to be renovating our Woodlawn Library, which I'm going to be talking a little bit more about later. But our Woodlawn Library is going to have a cafe space because people in that community said that that was something that was really important to them, a place to come to the library to buy food and eat food and drinks. And we are excited to be turning over that space over to one of our Entrepreneur Academy graduates so that they can practice in real life all of the skills that we taught them to be successful business owners. Digital access is something that is a top priority for us in Baltimore County. We know that many people in Baltimore County, while they might have they don't have the ability to gain access to affordable and reliable internet. So that's where the library kind of steps into that gap so that they can compete in the economy, so that they can be successful in school. You cannot be a functioning adult in the 21st century without internet access. It's just not possible. And so through a combination of federal dollars and dollars from our Foundation for Baltimore County Public Library, we have been able to stand up a really robust digital equity program. We have over 1,000 Wi-Fi hotspots in our collection that can check out for up to 3 weeks at a time, and they are checked out all of the time, which goes to show that we could double, triple, or quadruple that collection, and we would only ever be just scratching the surface of really fully addressing the needs in Baltimore County. Over the past year and a half, we were able to launch a long-term lending program where for up to 6 months, people can check out a Chromebook, which is a device plus internet, or a high-speed router, which allows up to 30 simultaneous connections at a time. The challenge for us moving forward is how do we figure out to continue to meet the needs of Baltimore County residents, but also the availability of funding. A lot of federal dollars we used a lot of federal dollars that have come to us and applied it towards this program. And the shifting landscape of federal dollars and what that's going to mean for the future, we just don't know. So we remain nimble and finding alternate sources of funding as necessary and committed to doing what we need to do to eradicate digital inequity within Baltimore County. I see the Delegate Pastor has her hand raised.
Yeah, if go ahead and finish and then we'll go to
Yeah, no, I just raised it, so I will be first.
And you know, if Delegate Pastor says she's going to be first, you can count on it, okay?
Yes, ma'am. Delegate Pastor is first. Got it. Okay, we continue to invest in our vehicles. So a couple of years ago on the bottom right, we got the Mobile Library Support Center. That's where we push out access to lawyers, social workers, resources. We have some of our community partners on that vehicle. It's been really a fantastic way for us to kind of bridge the divide for people. We're meeting people where they are, not expecting them to come to the library, understanding that not everybody can make it to the library, but still giving them access to critical life-saving help and support and helping them have the best quality of life possible. On the left, that's our newest vehicle. We have a stream vehicle, which is more youth focused, and it's been on the road since the summer. It's got the latest and greatest in technology, and it's out on the road in the communities, connecting kids with technology in their neighborhoods, and we're seeing a lot of positive impact from that. And over the next year, we're going to be adding some additional vehicles to our mobile fleet. And so now, a bold new chapter for Baltimore County Public Library. We've been spending a lot of resources towards making sure all of our 19 facilities are 21st century facilities, that no matter where people live in, no matter how much money they have in their pocket, that they get access to the best possible library experience. And we have made a lot of positive strides in the past 4 years. We've touched literally every single one of our branches to make sure that every branch looks good, that we have nice, fresh, furniture, new fixtures. And in some cases, we made significant investments where we've done renovations, or we're also talking about building new buildings to replace existing facilities. Upcoming projects, White Marsh is first up. They're going to be closing March 29th for a few months. They're going to be getting new meeting rooms. The entryway is going to be redone. The restrooms are going to be revamped. They're going to get digital signage. The thing that they are most excited about White Marsh is that for the first time, they're going to have an adult changing table in their restrooms. There's a need for an adult changing table for all the day groups that they get, for caregivers of older children and adults with special needs. So it's not sexy, but it's one of those small things that we've been able to do to improve the service at that particular location and make sure that everybody who uses the library can use the library with dignity. Catonsville Library, we just reopened after an extensive renovation, and we reopened in the fall of 24. And since we've reopened, it's just been a game changer for that community. The project would cost $7 million. It was partially funded by Baltimore County government, partially funded by a grant from Maryland State Libraries. The Catonsville Library has the first ever recording studios of anywhere in the Baltimore County Public Library system, and they are used all of the time. We hired a recording studio specialist whose job it is to teach people on how to use the equipment. And once we teach them how to use the equipment, they can go and they can record music, record podcasts, whatever they want, and it's being used heavily. There was a young lady who recorded a song, mixed it herself, and she just put it out on the internet. And so we're really proud of her. And so we look forward to the day when somebody can claim that they won a Grammy for a recording that they did at the Catonsville Library. We know that it's only a matter of time. Woodlawn Library is going to be the next big project. This is fully funded by Baltimore County government, and we're so appreciative of their generosity and support for this project. As you all know, this is going to be a renovation, a total gut of the interior, as well as an expansion of about 6,000 square feet. What's really unique about this project is that for the first time, we're going to be able to focus as much on the inside as we will on the outside. Unfortunately, I would say none of our libraries really have any curb appeal. Woodlawn is an example of that. If you were driving by or walking by, there's really nothing that's attractive about the outside of the building that's going to beckon you to come on to inside. But with the renovation, we'll be able to clean up the facade, make it more inviting, make it more attractive so that you want to be inside the building. And we're really looking forward to making those improvements. 8212 Liberty Road is going to be the site of the new Randallstown Library and Recreation Center. Thank you again to the speaker for her generosity and support for this project. We received $31 million in state funding. And right now we are in the midst of design, trying to figure out what the building is going to look like. So looking forward to sharing more information about this project as it develops. But in the meantime, the Randallstown Library in its current location is still there. They're still doing their thing. They're thriving, and free tax prep is happening right now at the Randallstown Library through our partnership with the Cash Campaign of Maryland. Essex Library is another project where, again, through the generosity and support of Baltimore County government, we were able to purchase 4.5 acres of land off of Old Eastern Boulevard, and this is the largest parcel of land that we have anywhere throughout the Baltimore County Public Library system. So 4.5 acres is significant. We're going to really be able to do something really impressive. Right now, we are in the midst of design. We wrapped up some really robust community engagement sessions in January, and we got to capture all of the hopes and wishes and wants and needs for people in the community. And now the architects are taking all of that feedback, all of that data, and they're trying to come up with a rough design of what this library is going to be. Once they're able to do that, then we can get a better sense of what the size and scope of the building is going to be, and then also the cost. And then we can move towards full funding at some point. And Lansdowne Library, we're really excited about potentially building a new library for Lansdowne. This is, I know Delegate Ebersol, he calls this, what do you call it? The shoebox library?
That's exactly correct. I refer to it as the shoebox.
Yes, at 5,000 square feet. We do our best in this facility to serve this community, but is too small for the community. And we're hoping to build a larger facility to better serve this community. And we've had a great partnership with the county. We had a great collaboration and partnership with the previous county executive, and we are working with the new county executive to hopefully get a match on the state's contribution. But this is certainly in play, and we're looking forward to eventually getting a new Lansdowne library. And lastly, this is a new project that some of you guys may have heard about. I know a number of our delegates and senators from the east side have already submitted letters of support about this project. This is a unique opportunity for us to do a public-private partnership where we would be partnering with a developer to build us a library in Middle River. Middle River is the fastest growing community in Baltimore County, and it does not have a library branch. And so, you know, we do have libraries nearby in Essex, White Marsh, Perry Hall, but our data indicates that Middle River has some of the lowest rates of library card holders in the county. And now we have a unique opportunity to remedy this situation. And this for us is very much about timing. If we waited 5 or 10 years or 15 years from now to say, hey, we need a new library in Middle River, it'll be too late because all of the land would have been developed, right? So we have a developer that is actively building houses, and they have carved out a parcel for us where we could build a 26,000 square foot library. And so we look forward to working with them as well as the county on securing an agreement so that we can move forward with this really exciting project. And that's it. That's it for my presentation. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Okay.
And Delegate Pastor, you were the first up.
Yep, you get it, Delegate Pastor. You have the floor. Off you
Well,
go.
thank you. You know, I'm always excited to hear you. You are just an absolutely incredible person to run Baltimore County's libraries. You're creative and very open. So thank you for everything that you do. Now, I'm going a little bit into the future, but I know that you are forward thinking. So what is going to happen with that Pikesville building as the senior center transitions? What's the word in terms of what you're doing? You've already renovated it. So what's going to happen there? Do you know? Has any been conversation about that?
Yeah, we've been hoping that once the senior center leaves the second floor of the premises, that we would be able to take that part over and expand the library. One of the things that we don't have enough of is adequate meeting space. We don't have study rooms, things like that. And there's an opportunity to expand in those areas. So that's what we would be hoping to do.
Well, as you're doing that thinking, I hope that we can have some conversation, and the we would include Dr. Yarbrough, as I heard you talk about the little canteen, if you will, in the other library, because you know, they have that expansive culinary program. But as we go along, I would like for you to put in your thinking some conversation with her, and not just about that program, but also about the new CTE programs that are coming up and opening up about the same time that culinary will open, because those might be things that you can infuse in some of that space, because you're doing wonderful things with space.
Excellent.
Thank you again for everything you do.
Thank you, Delegate. Appreciate you.
All right. She usually has a lot. There we go. We got somebody else. And Delegate Phillips is famous for this. I love him for this. Delegate Phillips, would you like to ask a question or make a comment, sir?
I do. I would like to ask a question, and thank you very much for the presentation. And like Delegate Pastor said, you're doing a wonderful job. Really appreciate you. My question really has to do with something you mentioned on the mobile service when you talked about lawyers as part of that. I was not aware of that, but it is a issue for me. I'm really trying to figure out how we get more pro bono legal services in our community and through which avenue. And you mentioned that, so I think the library is actually a great way of going about it. Could you elaborate on that? And are you using Maryland?
So you broke up a little there at the end, but I think the general question was asked. Maybe Madam CEO, you'd like to kind of jump in there.
Yeah, no, that's a fantastic question. We've had a history of offering lawyers in the library program where people can come to the library and get access to free pro bono advice from an attorney. And then we expanded that where we were able to provide it on our vehicle, via our mobile library services center. Over the past year, we've been in conversation with our partners on this, and we're hoping to be able to expand those offerings and make it more robust. I think there's a great need for people in our community just to deal with they need access to lawyers, they need access to legal advice, and it becomes an equity issue where they just can't afford it, they just don't have access. And when they can come to the library and get that, I mean, it's really truly wonderful. One of the most amazing stories that I heard was a woman she came to the library with her daughter, and in one hand she was holding her daughter's hand, and in the other hand she had a flyer for Lawyers in the Library program. And she said, "I'm in a domestic violence situation and I need to get out. I need to get me and my daughter out. And I couldn't tell my husband that I was going to see a lawyer, but I could tell him that that I was bringing our daughter to the library." The library provides a safe, neutral space for people to access these services, and we're happy to be able to do it. And again, it speaks to the transformative power of public libraries.
Well, thank you for doing this, and I want to learn more about it, so I'll follow up with you individually.
Will do.
Thank you, Delegate
Phillips.
Phillips. And now we turn to our newly minted, but very experienced on all matters in the county, Delegate Ross. You have the floor.
Hi, thank you, Mr. Chair. I too wanted to just tell you, you're doing a really great job. A lot of us are very excited about you in this role. So thanks for all that you do. Congrats on the new social worker. I'm happy to hear about that. I just wanted to say that with the new schools, as you talk about the low library card holders in Middle River, I do know a little bit about that. I would like to see, and maybe you're doing this, but definitely with the newer libraries that eventually will come online. If you could, think about or maybe speak to a partnership with BCPS to have students take field trips over to the new libraries, maybe the current libraries we already have, just so they can, just to show students, what we have to offer in the libraries, try to get them familiar with the summer program. Maybe we could do that. Maybe a good time to do that would be right before the school year is over, and try to spark some interest before the summer starts. So I would love to see something like that. I know me and some other, I'm a BCPS mom. We took some kids to a library, and some of them, that was their first time going to their local library. That should never, ever be. So we use the time to help them create some reading lists for the summer. So I would love to see a partnership with BCPS. I have strong relationships in the system and can help. You probably don't need me to help bridge the gap, but if you do, happy to help facilitate that. Thanks.
Thank you, Delegate Ross. I'll share that we do have a really strong and robust relationship with Baltimore County Public Schools. All Baltimore County Public Schools automatically get a BCPL library card, and it's tied to their student ID number. And it gives them the ability to just come to the library and check out materials without having to go through the separate process of getting a library card on their own. So we're really happy that we do have that partnership with them. At the local level, each of our librarians and our branch managers typically have relationship with their local school, with the principal, with the school media specialist, and we do try to facilitate field trips and that sort of thing. The thing that we're cooking up right now is we've already met with the superintendent about the possibility of standing up after school homework help at some of our locations. And I'm really interested in exploring that, not just for the new buildings that we're going to have, Essex, Lansdowne, Randallstown, Woodlawn, where we could potentially carve out dedicated space, but how do we identify those students in those areas where they need the most support, and how do we be able to, offer a space and a service at the library where they can get tutoring and after school help. So that's kind of our new thing that we're cooking up, and really excited to collaborate with the school system on making this happen.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate Ross. And I don't see any other hands up. My own little point of personal privilege is that I'm excited because for those of you who don't know it, I have a podcast, and I won't go into that too much at this moment because it's a little bit too much shameless self-promotion. But we do interview educators, and I consider people who work in a library educators. And we usually just do it out of our little home studio. But I think we've planned to get you into the Catonsville Library and test out the new studio at the same time that we get you on there. So I'm looking forward to having you on the podcast sometime soon. And with that, if anybody doesn't have any other further comments, we really appreciate you coming on board and talking to us. We only have about 20 minutes, and we're going to get over to the floor. So anybody else have anything for the good of the order at this point?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, ma'am.
Just a little housekeeping. Delegate Stein, I did mark you in at the time that you came in, or that I saw you on the screen.
Yeah, we have him as present, but he missed a few votes, but ultimately it didn't change the outcome of them.
But I still wanted to put his time in so it would be very clear and official.
Super appreciated. Thank you. Anyone else, anything for the good of the order? We will meet again next week. We may we may have hearings on Senate bills that have come over and crossover. We're also expecting a visit from, John's going to tell me it's either the president of Towson University or UMBC. We're getting them both in the next couple of weeks.
Towson University.
Okay. Mark Ginsburg from Towson will be our guest next week. And then the following week, it'll be Valerie Shears Ashby, the president of UMBC. So we'll hear from some of our big state universities that we house in Baltimore County. So looking forward to seeing you all. See you all on the floor in a couple of minutes. And we are adjourned. Thank you for your hard work today.
Thank you.